The cup the Father wanted Jesus to drink was one of sacrifice, spiritual, emotional, and physical pain for a purpose. The prospect of all that pain made the heart of Jesus shudder, but in the crucible of choice, Jesus followed the Father after all. You and I are rarely faced with decisions that intense to go and die on a cross for somebody else. We can't truly get into the mind of Christ, but if we try, we can see that it's an obedience. It's a give up everything mentality that Jesus had. It was because he loved his Father and he loved us. And he knew that going through this pain and this sacrifice, everything was just gonna allow all these people who trusted in him to live with him, be with him forever. And he wanted that relationship with us so badly. Now, the point at which we have to understand this hits us is in the crucible of choice. We want our way, when we want it, how we want it. And we're going through life, and sometimes we're not even realizing our disobedience to Christ. But when he confronts us on it, and that crucible of choice comes right there, and it's so evident, which way are we going to turn? Are we going to follow our own God, which is maybe ourselves, and put us above God? Or we're going to follow the one true God who has just put it in his word to tell us how we should live. And we should obey him. If we love him, we'll obey his commands. And so David goes on to share a little story about his brother Benjamin. His little brother Benjamin, he says little, but he outmuscles me about 20 pounds, he said. And Benjamin has Down syndrome. And he's very special in many ways. And Benjamin, much like other people with Downs, is very routine oriented. So breaking a habit for him literally takes a miracle. One of his most deeply rooted habits was his love for country music. David called him, his brother, Benjamin, an Iranian redneck. And he has like the big belt buckle, the stretch Wranglers, the cowboy hats. And he has this full country stage, complete with like a drum set, guitars, lighting, sound equipment, the whole deal. It's pretty wild. But this kid loves country music. He has like every CD out there. Well, when it came time for his birthday one year, he asked David and his wife Jennifer to get him some country music tickets to this all-day festival. And so he said $400 got him the best seats in the house. So they got the tickets for him, and there was nobody to go with him. He only got 2 tickets, and so his mother said, "Yeah, I'll be glad to go." There was nobody else that could go for him or go with him, and he said, "You have to picture my mom. She's like the Iranian version of Grace Kelly, this sophisticated and reserved, not your typical country music fan. But she loved Benjamin, so she wanted to go with him." So the day after the concert, they get home, and David calls up to see how it went, and he calls Benjamin, and he says, "I can't talk right now. I'm saying goodbye." And he's like, "Saying goodbye to what?" And as soon as mom gets on the phone, he got off the phone, and the mom gets on, and she's really excited, and he's like, "What is going on? What happened?" And so excitedly she began to tell what was going on. Apparently, having been at the concert all day, on the drive home, Ben looked at mom and said, "God didn't like some of the stuff that happened at the festival today, did he?" As mom and Ben reflected on the behaviors they had seen, the cursing, drinking, suggestive clothing, drugs, Ben came to the conclusion that it broke the heart of God. Some of it had even happened on the stage. So to Benjamin, it was simple. What he saw broke the heart of God, so it broke the heart of Benjamin. He decided right then and there he didn't need to have anything to do with country music. That morning, when I called the house, Ben was putting all his country CDs into a box and was going to get rid of them. As someone ingrained in the habit, this was a major sacrifice, probably one of the toughest of his life. To some, this might sound like legalism, but in the crucible of the choice, Ben followed the Father. He didn't see the point in offering anything to God that cost him nothing. Look up that verse. It's in 2 Samuel 24:24. David had the same crucible of choice, and he decided, no, I'm not going to give something to the Lord that didn't cost me anything. That's not sacrifice. So that was over a year ago, and David saw Benjamin and his struggles and his victory in this particular situation. And through his fast from country music, Ben has discovered a new appetite for worshiping God through Christian music. And so it's kind of neat how he gave up something of a worldly lifestyle, and God replaced it with something that's Christian and more beneficial. And so, David goes on to say, look, this is not about, misinterpreting him saying, hey, no secular music, hey, no video games, no movies. It's not about that. He says you don't have to sit around all day listening to sermons on tape. That's why at the beginning of this 40-day journey, David asks us to seek through the Word and prayer the boundaries God would have for you and me. He says, I'm just saying, let's be gut level honest here. If it doesn't cost you anything, it's not worth anything. Need more clarity? Do whatever you want. But if it pleases you, all the while contradicting the Word of God, you're pleasing your own God. But you are your own God. In Psalm 63, David declares, "O God, you are my God." He's not stuttering there. The David in the Bible is saying the Lord of his life is the Lord of Lords. The question is not during the easy decision times of life. Listen to that. The question is not during the easy decision times of life, but in the crucible of choice. Who is your God? As you go to the journaling part today, number 1, describe the emotions and thoughts Jesus may have had as he prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. Number 2, what does a collision of wills mean to you? Number 3, what are some things God's told you to do that you didn't want to do? Number 4, how did you respond in each case? What were the results? Number 5, when you are faced with critical choices to obey God, what are your most common excuses? Number 6, what are some things in your life God may be asking you to sacrifice to Him? Number 7, read Matthew 26, 36 through 46. Think about each paragraph and then use it as a guide as you pray. And here he encourages us to memorize Psalm 115:1. Not to us, but to you, O Lord. And Psalm 115, verses 17 through 18. All right, so that is day 17, the crucible of choice. Remember, look at that collision of wills. And you know what? When you're obedient to the Father, man, He's going to bless you right back. We don't know how all the time. We don't know if it's immediate all the time. But when you come to that collision of wills, remember, obey God. Put yourself aside. Deny yourself. Take up your cross. Follow Him.